guys, welcome you all to my channel. This is FPL, the only channel where we discuss on different tips and strategies related to Fantasy Premier League. Also, like you welcome you all to join in my personal FPL journey for the season 2020-21. Since this is the first video in my channel, I would like to focus on how you can make your season more productive and more successful, how to win your mini leagues and more basic stuffs. For that, I have brought a new video that contains all the basic tips that can be applied for having a successful season. So without any further delay, let's move into the video. Okay guys, so here are the tips. So tip number 1, make your own plan and stick on it. So what does this basically means is, while you are making a team for a certain game week, let's suppose game week 1, then the players you bring, make sure the players have good fixtures in the further game weeks as well. Okay, let's take example. In this season, game week 1, Manchester United and Manchester City both are playing. So there may be various options to tackle the situation. The probable options would be, the first option, make a strong team for game week 1 and use wildcard early in game week 2. Option number 2, you are bringing on City and United assets and benching them. Whereas option number 3 would be, yes, go as usual, make a strong team for game week 1 and make a plan to bring Manchester assets in consecutive game weeks. So whatever you do, just stick on your plan, just stick it to it and just let it flow. Tips number 2, avoid injury prone players. So while you are making your team, make sure you are making a list of the players that have a consistent history of small injuries, as we are badly affected by COVID-19 as well. Make sure of the news that which of the players are in isolation and so on. Tips number 3, select a certain core of players and trust them longer term. So what does this basically means is, if you are bringing a certain premium player and the premium player is not giving you immediate return, and the premium player you don't have, they are giving you consistent returns, and in this situation, make sure you are giving enough time to the player, and make sure the player is passing your eye test. Make sure the player has been posing a consistent good stats. The only thing is not giving you points. So for that, trust the players and trust them longer term. So okay, tip number 4, make deadline transfers. Why making deadline transfers is important is the player you transferred early may get injured in trainings as well, and the situation in which you can make early transfer is, let us suppose you have 0.0 million in the bank and the player you want to transfer in have high chance of price rise. So in that situation only make early transfers. In other situations, wait for the last moment, make deadline transfers. Tip number 5, don't be afraid in making your transfer decisions. And while you are making certain transfers, while you are making decisions on the certain transfers of the players, make sure you are following your guts, you are following eye test, and you are following certain stats, even though the player you think might score big is not considered by many of the FPL players. Don't be afraid in making your transfer decisions. Next tip, make your own approach or strategy to chips. So basically, chips are used in the second half of the season where there are multiple double game weeks, blank game weeks, and in these game weeks, these are the game weeks where you can score big points. But nevertheless, the use of chips is entirely based on you. Make your own approach, more strategy to how the chips will be used by you. Okay, next tip, don't be afraid to take hits if your squad is drastically improved. Let's suppose you are continuously scoring very less points in consecutive game weeks, and there are certain things to be done, or there are certain holes to be plugged in your squad. So for that situation, if taking hits will improve your squad drastically, don't forget to take hits. Okay, tip number 8. Make very less or not at all transfers on your goalkeepers and defenders. As when you speak in the overall points, the goalkeepers and defenders make only a turnover of around 10 to 15 or 20 points. So if the transfer is necessary, if you don't have any playing goalkeeper or defender, then you can transfer in the goalkeeper or defender. But if you can rotate your goalkeepers and defenders, make sure you are utilizing your free transfers on the midfielders and the forwards, where they can give you return of 10 to 15 points, 20 points in a single game week. Okay, next tip number 9. If possible, bank your transfers. So in this tip as well, it is not mandatory to use your transfer every week in, week out. It's more easy, or you can be more flexible if you just bank your transfer, save your transfer, and in every game week you can have a chance of two transfers, where you can utilize maximum advantage of the two transfers you save. Okay, next tip: for captaincy, depend upon form, stats, fixtures, or depend upon your gut feeling. So while you are setting a certain player for captaincy, make sure you are firstly you are seeing the players stats, fixtures. What is the form of the player, whether the player is going through his bad form, or whether the player has good form, he is in full confidence, and whether it may depend upon your sixth sense, your gut feeling as well. I feel that this player is going to score big. Depend upon that feeling as well. Okay, next tip: do not rush for wild card, seeing everybody do it. Let us suppose your team is your team is doing extremely fine. You are consistently getting good points above the average. You are just climbing your ranks. Whether the ranks you climb might not be big, but your team has been scoring good points, and you are seeing almost every FPL players are using wildcard. So it is not necessary that you have to use your wildcard as well. You can save your wildcard, and you can use your wildcard only when it is necessary to use your wildcard. Don't rush for the wildcard. Okay, so the last tip I'm going to talk to you about is effective ownership. So what is effective ownership? Effective ownership, it is the measure of the effective percentage of the player contributes to the average with. So everybody likes differentials. As the season goes along, we particularly focus on having differentials in our team, because the certain players we own is owned by everybody. So having 2 or 3 differentials in a team is nice. It may give you a certain points, or the point you score. If you score big points, you can have a good rise in your ranks. But not having concern about the effective ownership, there may be decline in your ranks as well. Let us suppose Vardy is in more than 60% of all the FPL players team, and if Vardy does not score good points, then it's good for you. There will be not decline in your ranks. But if Vardy scores big, then you are done. So while making your team as well, make sure there are the certain most owned players, or certain players that have a high effective ownership are included in your team as well. Last thing I want to add, guys, is while you are making your transfers, make 3 or 4 things in your mind. The first thing is, have you given the player enough time to deliver? Second, is the new player injury prone? Third, is the new player rotation proof? So, okay guys, these are the various tips that can be applied to have a successful season. Some of the tips you may not need it. Some of the tips might be added to the list as well. So whatever it is, have a good and wonderful season, dominate your mini leagues, and make your FPL season more productive than previous seasons. Okay guys, this was for today. I'll see you soon in my upcoming video. Till then, stay safe and work on your Game Week 1 drafts. See you guys. Cheers. Subscribe and comment below. Hit a like in the video so which can be highly motivating. Till then, stay safe. Bye bye.